SBC Media.
Welcome to the iGaming Daily Podcast, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market.
Good morning and welcome to iGaming Daily on day 2 of ICE. Optimove is the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. 56% of the EGR Power 50 personalised player experiences with Optimove. Visit Optimove at ICE, mention you listen to our episode and get an Amazon gift card. And as another special offer, Optimove are offering new clients a free first month when they buy Optimove. For more information and to claim the free month, go to optimove.com/SBC. Links will also be left in the podcast episode description.
Gotta love those personalised player experiences, aren't we?
We are at day 2 of ICE. There is the lights, the atmosphere of a day 2 of ICE, and even a few sore heads as well that are synonymous with the second and third day of ICE. Yeah, so a lot of discussions being had. I'm joined by 2 guests today who've really got to grips with the conference. One enjoying his first conference, the other enjoying his...
20-odd.
20-odd. We're deep into the 20s. But first, my debutant guest, Danny Lee. How are you finding your first ICE, my friend?
Yeah, it's interesting, definitely. It's obviously huge for the slot industry, which is my sort of field, so it's good to see the suppliers here, and yeah, lots to get through still. It's only day 2, so yeah. But no, it's quite interesting to see sort of a lot of the land-based side of the business as well with the electronic gaming machines. It's something that, when we're working back in the offices, we do a lot of sort of digital and online casino stuff. So it's quite a big thing to see like how huge of like a sector that is within the industry we work as. And yeah, it's lots of different parts of the industry coming together as well, and it's interesting to see what sort of develops when we get back home, and sort of news and partnerships that are formed while we're here. So yeah, I'm liking it so far, definitely.
Good stuff, and you still seem fresh, you seem ready to go, ready to attack day 2 and 3. I'll update the audience on whether you're still so fresh tomorrow on the journey home. And Andy, obviously an ICE veteran, an event veteran as well, I would say. So this is obviously quite a landmark ICE, the last one in London. How are you finding it? How are you finding it?
Yeah, I mean, my first ICE was before it was even called ICE. It was back then it was ATEI, which was the Amusement Trades Exhibition International, and ICE was just a small subsection of that show. And the first one I went to was in 1999 at Earl's Court, where it stayed for... It had been there for many decades, to be honest with you. The show itself goes back to, I think, the 1930s. Its background is in Travelling Showman, all the freak machines, one-armed bandits, as they always used to call them in the press. And it's just... I remember seeing ICE as it was just a casino exhibition on one floor of Earl's Court, and then they put it in Earl's Court 2, and then a couple of years later there was one corridor for what they called ICE I, which was ICE Interactive, and that one corridor is essentially taken over half the show now, which is pretty interesting. But it's since it's been at XL, it's been pretty much the same experience. So much business happening on the show floor. It's quite simply where you need to be to do some business over the past 30, 40 years.
Does that expansion of the show that was, if you like, speak volumes about just the evolution of the iGaming industry and how it's grown over the years?
Well, I guess so, and I guess it helped being based in the UK, which was obviously one of the pioneers of online gaming. One of the areas that I wouldn't say embraced it, but accepted it, and it's long been a facet of life and the entertainment. Whereas you get other countries like even something like America, they've only just recently come online. Whereas certainly in the UK and other places in Europe, we'd already been doing it for 20 years or so.
Yeah, and I'm conscious I'm speaking to two staunch northerners here, but is there going to be a London-shaped gap in the iGaming industry? Are we going to miss London a little bit?
I think some of the international people
Yeah.
will miss London. I mean, what Clarion have done, they've actually moved their iGaming show in the summer, IGB Live, from Amsterdam to XL. I'm not sure. It's a much smaller show, so I'm not sure you're going to get the same kind of vibe as you do from what is quite simply one of the biggest shows in the world. And I think people might miss Amsterdam more.
Yeah, agreed. And yeah, it is a different energy, IGB Live. But I'll certainly miss London a bit for an event like this. And Danny, how about yourself? Obviously, you come to London regular for work and for events anyway, but do you think ICE will miss London a little bit?
Yeah, you'd think so. I mean, like Andy was saying, the UK has sort of adopted like online casino quite a bit. It's a huge part of like entertainment industry here, so you'd think having that sort of hub within the capital city is quite a big thing, and it's been here for however many years as well, so it probably will be quite significant for a lot of people not to have to come down here every February. But things have to evolve, things have to grow, and I suppose they thought that was the right move, taking it away from here. And if something else can fill that gap, then that could maybe be exciting. Yeah,
definitely. And we'll miss the weather as well. The weather here is fantastic, so we'll definitely miss that. And but it is, just looking around, it is a place where you see the trends being shaped. You see what's coming next for slots. What have you noticed that is really sort of going to stand out in 2024 and beyond from your perspective?
Yeah, there's lots of interesting things to look at, really. I suppose I have to mention multiplayer gaming and how that's going to creep into slots slowly in the next couple of years. We've had Hungry Bear and Yggdrasil announce that they're going to be revealing, I think it's in Q2 of this year, their first multiplayer slot where you can actually use real money to play rather than the free-to-play alternatives they've been producing for a couple of years now. And I think if you look away from slots as well, what's been quite fascinating is the way a lot of companies are sort of trying to branch out and sort of make their own formats in a way, or at least try and adopt new formats and make them their own. So you see, obviously you got a lot of crash games, sort of table games done with unique ways, different like features and bonuses and stuff. And you see quite a lot of that being pushed at events like this to sort of say, we're not just taking something like slots and doing it as best as we can. We're coming up with something new and trying to make that our thing and then push it into the market, and then that can maybe lead to further adoption and sort of make a new genre in a way. And so I've seen lots of new games, interesting things to go up and take a look at. And another thing as well to touch on the sort of gaming machines as well is it's interesting to see some suppliers who have been focused mainly on online casino games now branching out into gaming machines. It's almost the other way around is how it usually works.
Yeah, that's really interesting. A change of direction a little bit for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So another thing to keep an eye on is sort of how that develops as well. And if we see success with one company doing that, then you're obviously going to see more people branch out and cover both online and sort of land-based verticals. Yeah, just from some of the conversations I've been having, echo what you say, there's a real emphasis on uniqueness and bringing something that's, completely different to the market that really sets them apart. While we're here, there's been the acquisition of live spins. Do you think we're going to see a little bit of a trend of mergers? Is this something that could sort of set the pace? Yeah, it's something we've seen a lot of in recent years. You could say it's a big fish sort of taking a small fish in a way, but it's definitely not the case with this deal. Live spins, we've covered them a lot on podcasts and on site recently. They're sort of paving the way a bit for slot streaming to be integrated into operators and actually sort of take a bigger position on the online casino stage. And I think it's a really smart move from Evolution to sort of tap into those audiences. And we know that slot streaming is, it's growing exponentially in the industry. You're seeing a lot more exposure on streaming at these events as well. There was a streaming night on Monday hosted as well. And I think I won't be surprised if that does lead to success for Evolution, if we see live spins integrated into all of Evolution's partners, operator partners and stuff like that, then yeah, they again might be sort of paving the way for other companies to be like, right, we need to get into slot streaming because it is where the industry is going next.
Brazil, a global economic powerhouse, deeply passionate about sports, and now home to one of the hottest markets in gaming. And we're giving it the full SBC treatment. Join industry leaders, market experts, and all the major players in the country for 3 days of content, exhibition, and epic networking at the first ever SBC Summit Rio.
And there was interesting research note from Regulus partners on Evolution when they did their, I think it was their full year results a couple of weeks ago. And they were saying, while Evolution is obviously a massive money-making machine, you know, by far the biggest in the industry, what they noticed from the results is their slots performance, their slot brands that they'd bought, was kind of tracking behind. And the trend in the gaming side of the industry obviously is the innovation tends to be driven by the suppliers rather than the operators. So the industry's a lot of the operators are really dependent on Evolution, you know, driving forward innovation this way. And so this acquisition could really transform what has been reported as a slightly underperforming side of the slots business.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And it's happening it's interesting that it happens now because it could really fuel the year ahead and shape that innovation that the industry really does rely on for sure. And something else that I think will be key this year, and we did speak about it yesterday, but Andy, while we've got you here, I want to pick your brain on it just because it's such a hot topic going around, is the Brazilian market for the year ahead. It's such a big opportunity for iGaming. Yeah, what do you make of the Brazilian market, and how can operators tap into that?
Well, it's such a big market. It's so many people, and it's just absolutely crazy for sports. I mean, everyone talks about the US being a big market, but broken up into the States, it's kind of been sporadic growth there. But obviously Brazil, it's just completely football mad. You know, they've already been gambling online, so they're also familiar with it. Yeah. So it just gives a chance to really legitimise that side of the business. Yep. And it just all depends on how these regulations are written and the taxation levels, just to see, you know, if that potential is met, because it has potential to be one of the biggest in the world. I mean, for an example, we've got our event in Rio, start of March. From when we originally planned it, we had to double the size of the show floor already before we've even run it, just because the demand and interest in that market is so high at the moment.
Was that off the back of the decision, or was that...
Well, the decision's been sort of rumbling under for a while. Yeah. And obviously we've got our SBC Summit Latin America that we have in Miami. But we were getting so much feedback about Brazil. It made sense to do something locally to the market and in the local language, because Latin America is mainly Spanish. So this event will be mainly Portuguese. Yeah.
Okay. That's it. Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned just how sports mad they are as well, because I think for sports books it's something of an open goal as much as it's going to be competitive. Pardon the pun. Something of an open goal. We know how sports mad Brazilians are. The iGaming side of things, that's going to be a real challenge. I think we had Isadora on yesterday, who was picking holes in the iGaming framework and the regulations. So that is going to be a real challenge. Is it going to be sort of engaging new audiences in Brazil in iGaming, or is it going to be transcending the sports mad bettors over to the iGaming side of things, do you think?
Good question. I think in the short term, people will be looking for the low-hanging fruit, which is the people who are already betting.
Yeah.
But you know, it's quite a young population. It's a growing population, and to be honest with you, I think everyone's a target to start off with. You know, if things are more regulated, there's more official marketing, and it becomes less of a less stigmatized if it's regulated. At least that's the theory. It could encourage people to engage with it who haven't done before.
Yeah, and you're somebody that sort of pays a close attention to regulatory frameworks globally, more than most, I would say. How important is it that they get it as close to right and, make a good go of it from the start and, learn lessons from the US and even from Europe as well?
I mean, the problem you have with regulators is they always think they know right. So every market ends up having such mad idiosyncrasies because sometimes if people are being lobbied by suppliers, they think it's all for the supplier's good. Well, sometimes it's not. It's for the market, and a lot of the regulators, while they do talk to each other, there's other political pressures around it. So we won't get perfect. People were saying Ontario was as close to an open market as you can get, and that's had its own issues. People are struggling to make money in there. The opposite end of the scale, sort of New York State, people are struggling to make money there because it's essentially a 51% tax rate. So it's very easy to get wrong, and the best way of doing it is just constant revision. And if they get something right, if you get something wrong, then rectifying it pretty swiftly. But admitting you've got something wrong doesn't come easily for people who make laws.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I was talking to a supplier that's heavily present in North America yesterday, and when we moved on to Ontario, it was like I mentioned the golden child. They were glowing a little bit, and So, Ontario, the one maybe that lessons could be learned from, but even they got things wrong. And to close us off today for this podcast, before we head into the final day of ICE, Danny, any things you're looking to discover, any trends that, you want to sort of find out on the show floor moving forward today?
Yeah, definitely. There's obviously new products left, right and centre, so it's just a case of going around checking out what new slots there is to look out for, speaking to suppliers, what is sort of the key games that are going to be coming out this year, because obviously we know a lot of the big suppliers, they have everything planned out, they've got their strategy and they know what games are going to be like flagship for the year. Looking out for new franchises is going to be interesting as well. We've got maybe a couple gaps in the market there at the minute. When you look at, obviously Money Train was huge last year, but now that that's over, you'd think maybe Relax Gaming or a company of that stature might want to maybe kick off their own and take that portion of the market that really, collects so many players. We keep coming back to it because, like I said, it's a franchise. People, they like the familiarity, they like recognising the features, and then they like coming to the new games because it's just like, it's a sequel. It's like if you like a film, you're going to want to watch the second film. If you like a video game, you're going to be really excited when they make another one. And like I said, I think there's companies that could have the potential to maybe be the next sort of Money Train in a way. Yeah. Or have the next Money Train in a way. And so it's just a case, it's still early on in the year, but when you think of ICE, you think of lots of announcements, lots of new partnerships, and on that, there's going to be some interesting develops, I think, in the aggregation side of the industry. We're seeing lots of suppliers now branch out into being aggregators as well, more and more every month these days, really. So I'm sure there's going to be lots of meetings being held and lots of deals being made in that portion of the industry as well.
Brilliant. And Andy, apart from savouring a final couple of days in the Excel,
I'm going to go check out the marketing stuff. It's always good to see the development of the marketing. So I'm definitely going to be going to the Optimove stand and claiming my Amazon voucher by saying, I listen to iGaming Daily. It's my favourite.
On the marketing thing, something that always interests me is the use of brand ambassadors. We always see brand ambassadors wheeled out, some big names at ICE and at SBC events as well. Yeah, always interesting to me how firms activate their brand ambassadors. So, I'm hoping to maybe bump into a few famous faces this afternoon. I
was walking in the corridor behind Louis Figo and Miguel Salgado yesterday. So I've got a great picture of the back of their heads if you want to see that.
Nice. showed my age yesterday, actually, a little bit, when a few younger heads at SBC, I won't mention any names, but they knew Louis Figo, but they didn't know Michel Salgado.
They've not watched the David Beckham documentary.
Yeah, there you go.
He's brilliant on that.
All right, guys. Well, signing off now to go and explore the conference floor and tackle ice once again. And thanks ever so much for your time. And don't forget to visit the Optimove stand and mention that you listened or viewed our episode. And thanks ever so much.
Thank you for listening to today's iGaming Daily podcast, supported by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming market. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News Network or check out the latest edition of the SBC Leaders magazine. Happy reading.